Ever since I, 29-year-old female, got married 4 months ago, my in-laws in their 60s have brought up the fact that I didn't invite anyone from my biological family to the wedding and have asked me why I don't at least make an attempt to reconnect with my half-siblings. I explained to them that I did not feel it would be worth my time. My in-laws argued that it has been more than a decade since I last saw or spoke to any of them, and a lot of things could have changed in that time. They told me they see how longingly I look at my husband and siblings sometimes when they're being typical siblings, or how I stare off into the distance at times when we're all together, and I experience being part of a happy family with them. They say they know I long for that with my own biological family. I admitted to them that I wish it had been possible, but I know in my heart that it's not possible, and I found acceptance in that a long time ago. I feel I should touch on some background here. My father was a married man when he met and had an affair with my mother, resulting in me. His family found out about me when I was a baby or a toddler, and his marriage ended as a result. His other children were in their teens at the time, and they hated me for being born. I have a number of scattered memories of them. I never lived with them, but I saw them occasionally when I was with my father. They were hateful, cruel, and made it very clear to me at a very young age that they did not want anything to do with me. My father would whine for them to be nicer, but he never really stood up for me and never tried protecting me either. My mother grew to resent me for the ending of the affair and treated me terribly from middle school onward until I cut off all contact when I was 19. I was 17 the last time I saw or heard from any of my half-siblings, and I was the same age the last time I heard from my father or saw him. I explained my background in more detail to my in-laws. They knew I was an affair baby, a term I hate because I did not choose to be born to a married man and another woman, but they didn't know the extent of the disdain expressed in my childhood. My in-laws asked if I had tried reaching out to my father's ex-wife because surely she would want her kids and me to have a better relationship. But if I couldn't reach her, they said they bet my half-siblings have been waiting for me to make contact for years and would love to know me today because family. I was actually startled by how naive they sounded saying all this. I told them there was no way the ex-wife would help because she hadn't wanted me anywhere near her kids. I also told them my half-siblings were all older than I am now when I last saw them, and they still hated me, so I held no hope for change. They told me I didn't know, and I told them I could not afford to be as naive as them. They were hurt I called them that. My husband told them it was naive to think the way they did. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. They are naive and also cruel by rubbing it in. In those cases, I usually say, I know you mean better, but you don't actually know better. They were not there. They didn't meet your extended biological family. You have. Tell them what they are doing is kind of like telling an amputee to try and walk without crutches or a prosthetic, because maybe it'll work this time. You don't know it won't. You do know. They are the ones that don't. Comment 2, not the idiot one. You could have been much harsher than calling them naive. 2, naive sounds like a pretty fair assessment. 3, some people think they know best and can fix anything. Shockingly, this is not the case. 4, your biological family treated you horrifically. Leave the past in the past and protect yourself from more hate. You're right. 5, good luck on them never bringing this up again. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a hectic couple of weeks since then, and I've got quite the update for you. After that conversation with my in-laws, things were a bit tense for a while. They seemed to take it personally that I called them naive, and my husband and I had to have a few more talks with them to smooth things over. But just when I thought we'd put the whole thing behind us, guess who showed up at our door out of the blue? My half-sister Sarah. I hadn't seen her in over a decade, and there she was, standing on my doorstep with a nervous smile on her face. She said she'd been thinking about me a lot lately and wanted to try and make amends. I was shocked to say the least. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face, but my husband convinced me to at least hear her out. We sat down for coffee, and Sarah started telling me about her life. She's married now with 2 kids of her own. She said becoming a mother made her realize how wrong she and our other siblings were to treat me the way they did. She apologized for everything and said she wanted to start fresh. I'll be honest, it was a lot to take in. I had so many conflicting emotions swirling around inside me. On the one hand, it felt good to finally get some acknowledgement of the hurt they caused me. But on the other hand, I couldn't help but wonder if it was too little, too late. Over the next few days, Sarah kept reaching out. She invited me to meet her kids and her husband. She wanted to introduce me to our other siblings and try to rebuild our relationship. I was hesitant, but my husband encouraged me to give it a chance, so I agreed to meet up with all of them for dinner. It was awkward at first, but as the night went on, things started to feel more natural. They all apologized for how they treated me and said they wanted to be a part of my life. I started to let my guard down a little bit. But then something happened that made me question everything. I overheard Sarah talking to our brother, Mike, when they thought I was out of earshot. She mentioned something about our father's will and how they needed to get me on board before it was too late. Suddenly, all the pieces started to fall into place. I realized the only reason they were reaching out was that our father was sick, and they wanted to make sure I wouldn't contest the will or cause any problems. They didn't care about me, they just wanted to protect their inheritance. I confronted them right then and there, and they didn't even try to deny it. Sarah started crying and saying she really did want to make things right, but I could see right through her. I told them all to leave and that I never wanted to see them again. It's been a few days since then, and I'm still processing everything. I feel like a fool for letting myself believe, even for a second, that they could have changed. My husband has been my rock through all of this, reminding me that I have a real family now with him and his siblings. Looking back, I realize I should have trusted my gut from the beginning. I knew in my heart that my half-siblings were toxic people who would only bring me pain. I let my in-laws' naive optimism cloud my judgment, and I paid the price for it. But if there's one thing I've learned from this whole ordeal, it's that sometimes the family you choose is more important than the family you're born into. I may not have the picture-perfect relationship with my biological family, but I have something better. A loving husband and in-laws who accept me for who I am, baggage and all. Thanks for reading, everyone. It's been a tough couple of weeks, but I know I'll get through it with the support of the people who truly care about me. My friend assured me parking at their place was safe, but my car got towed and they refused to help with the fee. So I taught them a lesson in responsibility by taking them to small claims court and watching them squirm. So my friend Skylar and I made plans for me to spend the night at his apartment. I had never been there before, and when I arrived, I noticed that some cars in his building's parking lot had parking passes on their windshields. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to park there without one, so I asked Skylar if I needed to move my car to find street parking somewhere. Skylar told me that he is allowed to have a guest park in the spot assigned for his unit and told me a specific spot to park my car. I moved my car to the spot he told me was okay to park in, and then we went inside. The next morning, I went out to the parking lot, and my car was nowhere to be seen. I went back into Skylar's apartment to tell him that my car had been stolen and we needed to call the police. Skylar's roommate then came in and said that my car was most likely towed because at 10 p.m. or so, they tow any car in the lot without a parking pass. Apparently, Skylar was supposed to talk to someone in his building management to get me a temporary pass. I still had to call the police to get the number of the towing service that had my car. But thankfully, I did find it, and the impound lot wasn't very far away, so I was able to walk there and get my car. I was charged a fine of $186 for illegally parking in the lot, and had to pay that much for them to release my car. I did ask them if I could get the fee waived if I had some documentation from the owner of the unit stating that I had permission to park there, but they said it didn't work like that and I still had to pay. So after that, when I updated Skylar on the situation, I asked him to split the cost of the ticket with me and pay $1.93. Skylar said absolutely not because it was my car and so I was on my own. I said that wasn't fair since it was his fault I got towed and that he should actually be paying the full amount, but I was only asking for half because I was trying to be nice as a friend. Skylar just repeated that expecting him to pay for my car was ridiculous. I didn't want to argue about it, and I don't think he even had the money to give me anyway, so I just went home. I complained to one of my friends, and she said that Skylar was a jerk for not doing anything to help me get the car back, and it was fine to be mad at him for that. But she said that I was a little over the line expecting him to pay for my car expenses when he doesn't even have a car himself, and that's probably why he didn't know how the parking lot works. I don't get this logic. I still feel like Skylar owes me $1.93 and is a jerk for not paying me. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Skylar should pay the whole amount, and you should never speak to that jerk ever again. He isn't your friend. You won't get the money from him since he is a useless deadbeat. If he did admit fault and fully cover the costs, worry isn't a cost, even though time is. But you wouldn't get time back either. Then I could see forgiving him for being a fool. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I moved my car to the spot he told me was okay to park in, and then we went inside. Fair enough. Skylar said absolutely not because it was my car and so I was on my own. He was the one who told you where to park and didn't get you the pass. You've been pretty lenient in offering to split it. He should be paying all of it. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my update. It's been a chaotic few days since my car got towed from Skylar's apartment complex. The day after the incident, I decided to confront Skylar about the situation. I went over to his place and calmly explained how I felt it was unfair that I had to pay the full towing fee when he was the one who told me to park in that spot. Skylar got defensive and said that he couldn't afford to pay half the fee and that it wasn't his fault I got towed. We argued back and forth for a while, but ultimately couldn't come to an agreement. Frustrated, I left Skylar's apartment and went home. I couldn't stop thinking about how Skylar had let me down as a friend. I had always been there for him when he needed help, but now when I needed him, he was nowhere to be found. The next day, I got a call from Skylar's roommate. He apologized for not speaking up sooner, but he had overheard our argument and felt bad about the situation. He explained that Skylar had been having financial troubles lately and was barely making ends meet. He had been borrowing money from his parents just to pay rent and buy groceries. This new information made me see the situation in a different light. I realized that Skylar wasn't being a jerk. He was just struggling and didn't know how to handle the situation. I felt guilty for putting so much pressure on him to pay half the fee when he was already struggling financially. I decided to reach out to Skylar and apologize for how I had reacted. I told him that I understood his financial situation and that I didn't expect him to pay half the fee anymore. Skylar was surprised by my change of heart, but appreciated my understanding. We ended up having a long talk about our friendship and how we could better support each other in the future. Skylar opened up about his financial struggles, and I offered to help him look for a better paying job. We also agreed to communicate more openly and honestly with each other, even when it was difficult. In the end, I realized that my friendship with Skylar was more important than $93. While it was frustrating to have to pay the full towing fee, I knew that holding a grudge against Skylar would only damage our relationship in the long run. Looking back, I can see how my own upbringing may have influenced my initial reaction to the situation. Growing up, my parents always taught me to stand up for myself and not let anyone take advantage of me. While this mindset has served me well in many situations, it can also make me quick to anger and slow to forgive. I'm grateful for the lesson this experience has taught me about empathy and understanding. It's easy to get caught up in our own problems and forget that others may be struggling too. By taking a step back and considering Skylar's perspective, I was able to find a resolution that worked for both of us. Thanks for reading my update. I hope my experience can serve as a reminder to always approach conflicts with an open mind and a willingness to understand the other person's point of view. My daughter's coach played favorites and ignored her talent. So I pulled her from the team and watched her become a star while his team tanked without her. My daughter is 10 years old. This is her third year playing softball. She is a great player and works hard. She plays any position asked, even though she has her preferences. Our community has a small little league softball following. So our 9 and under, 10 and under, and 12 and under girls, ages 9, 13, are playing on a team together. The coach is a local middle school teacher who also coaches the softball team. I help assist along with 2 other parents. His daughter is the pitcher. My daughter is taking pitching lessons, and when I mentioned she wanted to try pitching, he said, "There's no way she'll be ready to pitch this season." It took my daughter a full 2 seasons before she got on the mound. We felt this was a little unfair because lots of recreational teams have new pitchers, and no one is expecting perfection. And his daughter frequently walks players. Today, he told another girl who hasn't been pitching that she could try it if it's okay with her dad. Dad is the coach's friend. So we shrugged it off. He asked my daughter to play catcher. She got into it and looked forward to it. So she was the catcher for all the practices up to the first game. The first game comes, and he tells the team that a girl who hasn't even been going to practice, but is a middle schooler and his daughter's friend, will be the catcher. He never lets my daughter touch the gear again. Again. My daughter took it and kept her chin up and didn't complain. Today at practice, we both didn't feel well. In retrospect, we should have just stayed home. But the coach insisted everyone show up because it's our last practice before 3 upcoming games. My daughter, who just turned 10, struggled with her batting today, and the catcher, who is 13 years old, told her, "How many foul balls are you going to hit?" My daughter was already feeling embarrassed by her performance, in addition to us dealing with our sinus issues, and got really upset with this. I approached the coach and told him they didn't need to be trash talking, and he replied, "It's not trash talking, it's a question." To which I replied, "It sure felt like trash talking." And he said, "It's not." I told him we weren't feeling well and we were going home. I turned around and my daughter thanked me, and we left without another word. My daughter doesn't want to play for the team anymore. She feels like the older girls/middle schoolers are being favored, and I can't really disagree with her. She's also playing for a travel team where she feels appreciated and heard. She's feeling like the older girls get preference. Am I the idiot for taking her off the recreational team after this? Normally, we would tough it out and use it as an experience to prove ourselves. She is one of 4 girls on the team with actual experience. It will definitely hurt the field performance of the team and reduce the player number, which they're already struggling to fill. My kid feels undervalued and is struggling to find joy in it anymore, ETA. Thank you all so much for the comments. I obviously want to protect my kid and make sure she knows her worth, but hate that our decision will disadvantage the good parts of the team. She and I have been talking a lot about it tonight. I'm going to support her 100% if she decides to quit. I'm letting her take the lead and make the decision, and we will leave our guilt of the things we cannot control behind us. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Your daughter doesn't want to play for that team anymore, and it's not like she's giving up on the sport altogether. So she shouldn't play for that team. The point of a recreational team should be that she's being active, making friends, and having fun. It sounds like 2 of those things aren't being met. No need for you or her to prove yourself to someone who doesn't value meeting those basic requirements for the whole team. Comment 2, not the idiot. You have to look out for your daughter, and it sounds like this is not a place for her to thrive. If she's enjoying her time on the travel team, then by all means, stick to that team and drop this bunch of losers. You've communicated with the coach and tried to make this work. To flat out not give your daughter a chance speaks volumes about how that coach does not value her. Now, for the update, hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post and for all the support and advice. It's been a week since I wrote that, and a lot has happened since then. After our talk, my daughter decided she wanted to stick it out with the recreational team. She said she didn't want to let her teammates down and that she wanted to prove herself. I was really proud of her for making that decision. At the next practice, the coach pulled me aside and apologized for what happened. He said he realized he wasn't being fair and that he would make sure all the girls got equal opportunities. I appreciated him owning up to it, and things seemed to be looking up. However, at the next game, my daughter finally got her chance to pitch. She had been practicing hard and was excited to show what she could do. But in the first inning, she struggled a bit and walked a few batters. The coach pulled her out after just 1 inning and put his daughter back in. My daughter was devastated. She tried to hide it, but I could see the tears in her eyes. I was furious. I wanted to confront the coach right then and there, but I didn't want to make a scene in front of everyone. After the game, I asked the coach why he pulled her so quickly. He said he just wanted to win and that his daughter gave them the best chance. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was supposed to be a recreational league, not the World Series. I went home and had a long talk with my daughter. She was heartbroken and said she didn't want to play for the team anymore. She said she felt like she would never get a fair chance and that it wasn't fun anymore. I told her I supported her decision 100%. I said I was proud of her for trying and that she had nothing to be ashamed of. We talked about how sometimes in life, things aren't always fair, but that doesn't mean we should give up on what we love. In the end, she decided to quit the recreational team and focus on her travel team. It was a tough decision, but I knew it was the right one for her. She needed to be in an environment where she felt valued and supported. I emailed the coach and let him know our decision. I explained that we felt like my daughter wasn't being given a fair chance and that the environment had become too negative. I thanked him for the opportunity, but said we needed to do what was best for our family. The coach wrote back and apologized again. He said he understood our decision and that he would try to do better in the future. I appreciated his response, but I knew it was too little too late. Looking back, I realized I should have spoken up sooner. I should have advocated for my daughter more and not let things get to this point. But I'm also proud of her for standing up for herself and knowing when to walk away from a bad situation. Since then, she's been thriving on her travel team. She's pitching more and even struck out a few batters in her last game. More importantly, she's smiling again and having fun. I know this experience will only make her stronger in the long run. She learned a valuable lesson about standing up for herself and not settling for less than she deserves. And I learned a lesson about being a better advocate for my child. Thanks again for all the support and advice. It really means a lot to know that we're not alone in this. Here's to moving forward and focusing on the positive. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.